Welcome everybody back to AuburnVersus.com. Mike Szvetitz here with the Opelika-Auburn News, sports editor. Collin, Mickle, Opelika-Auburn News, Auburn University beat writer. Collin, big week coming up as always. The last two games of Auburn season against Georgia and Alabama. Big football games in terms of rivalries, but also because they're actually pretty good football teams.
Oh, no question. I mean, these 2 weeks, the way that Auburn closes out the season every single year, it's going to be some exciting games. And obviously, the Georgia game is big because Auburn recruits Georgia so heavily. They've got 24 guys, including some real key players from Georgia.
And name some of those guys that this week is going to be. Obviously, Hugh Nall, the offensive line coach, played at Georgia, won a national championship under Coach Dooley.
Got a degree, too.
I got a degree, too, but that's
who cares?
Yeah, he played football. The coaching staff, Will Muschamp also played at Georgia.
Also got a degree.
Also got a degree. What are some of the key players and coaches? What are some of the storylines behind the story, I guess, for this game?
Well, I mean, obviously the Georgia guys want to show out, more than ever. But everybody wants to have a good game. Guys from Georgia who I think will be big parts of the offense are obviously Rod Smith. Needs to be a big part of the offense for Auburn to have any success. Robert Dunn had a big game. Admittedly, it was against Tennessee Tech, but back into the rotation after some disciplinary problems. On defense, obviously, Trey Blackman is the big one, and Josh Thompson is having a great season at nose guard. Those are probably four of the key guys.
What is some of the things that Auburn X's and O wise that they're going to have to do coming off the big win over Tennessee Tech, where a lot of backups got to play, a lot of starters rested? X's and O's. What does Georgia present that might be a problem for Auburn and vice versa? Well,
the biggest thing that Georgia presents is the running back with Noshawn Moreno. He is just an incredible back. He has over 1,000 yards with 3 starts this year. He's a freshman, but boy, he doesn't play like a freshman. And Auburn has struggled a little bit against some big backs this year. Obviously, they shut down Darren McFadden. South Carolina proved this last weekend how hard that can be. But Moreno is going to be a big challenge, and they've got to play better against him than they did against Hester for LSU and also the big kid from Mississippi State, Anthony Dixon.
Coming in, a lot of storylines as far as the last 2 games. Auburn 2 years ago goes into Athens, wins on a crazy last couple plays. Then last year, Auburn with 1 loss, ranked in the top 10, maybe top 5.
Number 5.
Number 5, coming into the game against a Georgia team that struggled with a true freshman quarterback in Matthew Stafford. And Brandon Cox has probably the worst game of his career. Auburn as a whole plays pretty poorly. They lose embarrassing loss last year. Even Brandon Cox said today that they were embarrassed and they played bad. So it's revenge for Auburn after a revenge game for Georgia last year.
Absolutely. And, that 2006 game, I'll be right about that later in the week. That was as embarrassing a loss as Auburn has had in the recent, at least since 2003. I mean, that is a humiliating home loss to a not very good team, and they are definitely spoiling for revenge. Brandon has to play better. Obviously, he can't play worse than he played in that game. But he's going to be a big part of what they do. Georgia has struggled against the pass at times, and Auburn's passing game seems to be kind of hitting its stride. That'll be a big matchup.
Now we got to talk about some of the coaching rumors, but your take on the Texas A&M, Tommy Tuberville, Texas A&M. Franchione's still the head coach as of right now, as of 1:40 on Sunday, or what is today? Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday.
1:40 on Tuesday. Dennis Franchione's still the head coach of Texas A&M. That could change in the next 5 minutes, but he's still the coach. Tommy's name's still out there. Has been. He mentioned a little bit today that it's not a distraction, and he won't actually. Either way, and he'll say you meet with Jay Jacobs and Dr. Goose, the president, after the season like he always does. Your take on some of those rumors, and obviously, they're still just rumors at this point?
Well, yeah, obviously, there's a lot of talk. The thing to remember, I think, is that there's only one person who will keep Tommy Tuberville from being the head coach at Auburn next year, and that's Tommy Tuberville. He has a contract that runs through 2011. It pays him, he's one of the highest paid coaches in college football. He does not have to leave. There's no deadline, nothing expires, there's nothing pushing him out. If he leaves, and I personally don't think he will, if he leaves, it'll be because he chose to leave. There's been a lot of sort of hysterical reaction. I've gotten a lot of emails that Auburn has to do something to keep Tommy Tuberville. They did that when they signed him to a 7-year, $16 million or $18 million contract. He will probably talk about his contract. They probably will start to renegotiate that deal, but they don't have to. And this is not a salary push time for Tommy Tuberville, even though all the rumors about A&M make it sort of seem that way.
And he even said today that there's no hurry for him to even meet with Dr. Goose and Jay Jacobs because that's the way they always do. So from his standpoint, at least what he told us today, there's no rush for him either. They want to focus on the last 2 games. So if it were about money or if it were about a new contract, then maybe there have been some a little giddy up, so to speak, this week. But they're not. Tommy's not really worried about it. I guess it's from all the rumor mongers and all these people wanting to spend some money.
And, the thing is, what makes Tommy Tuberville attractive to A&M, what makes him attractive to these other schools that his name is cropped up in connection to, is that he's not the kind of guy who would allow this to detract from his preparation for Georgia. He desperately wants to win these next 2 games. This Auburn can bounce back from a very, very bad 1-2 start to have a great season if they can win these next 2 games. I mean, they're standing on the cusp. They're still alive for a 10-win season. Who would have thought that on September 15th? I mean, this is they have a chance to accomplish a lot, and that really, regardless of what happens in January and February, that is going to be Tommy Tuberville's main focus.
And that's still a good bargaining chip to end of season, that 10-win season. If he does renegotiate with Auburn, or if another school comes calling, he's got that in his back pocket.
Oh, no question, absolutely.
So this week, the big Georgia week, the rumors are still flying. I'm sure you'll probably read a lot more about that in all the papers. But here, as far as Auburn versus is concerned, Dennis Franchione is still the head coach of Texas A&M. These are still just rumors. Don't turn off the radios. This isn't like War of the Worlds or something like that. Orson Welles isn't on the radio like that.
Montclair,
See, I did some research because I knew Collin throws out some obscure references every now and then.
That's good.
You like that? All right. Mike Szvetitz with Collin Mickle. We'll be back next week. We'll see how Auburn fared against Georgia, and we'll preview with the bye week. You'll have actually maybe 2 weeks to get ready for Alabama on AuburnVersus.com. We'll see you next week. Thank you.